Hi guys, it's Stefan here from RuneScape. I often get questions about multi-account merchanting, especially since the introduction of bonds. Before that, most people had one member account and only a minority had two or more. However, nowadays it's easy for anyone to set up their own army of merchants with bonds. As you can imagine, this is having quite an effect on merchanting. More people with more accounts basically equals a lot more merchants with the same experience entering the market. This narrows down margins in the long term, and it also doesn't make flipping any faster as these merchants have already learned to be patient. Despite that, I'm definitely a supporter of multi-account merchanting as I've been doing it since I first started, and it simply has a lot of benefits. A fun story for you perhaps. For me, it started with using multiple accounts to temporarily buy out items in World 2 Fellow Park many years ago. I would use them to buy from people at the same time before they could raise their price if they saw a decrease in sellers. Then people would buy from me at higher prices because I could set the same selling prices across my accounts. Nowadays I still use multiple accounts and I will continue to do this until I eventually quit. Anyways, the questions I get most often are if you should use multiple accounts to merchant, what kind of merchanting methods you should use on them, how much money your account should have, and how exactly you should get that money on there in the first place. The last question is how many accounts you should use in total. I'd like to answer these 5 for you in this video, and if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. So first off, should you use multiple accounts to merchant? In most cases, the answer to this question is definitely yes, but as you may have expected, it depends on you. It's not for everyone, but it doesn't mean I cannot give you some advice to help you in your decision. This decision mostly depends on the second and third questions, so what kind of merchanting methods you prefer and how much money you have. Another factor is your merchanting experience, but it is less important. Probably the clearest sign that you need to rethink your strategies and methods is when you often find yourself with leftover cash while your Grand Exchange slots are filled up. If this happens frequently, you are either merchanting in a wrong way or you need to work with more accounts. As I've said before, it's a waste to leave cash or items sitting around in your inventory or bank if that wealth can be used to merchant with. So why does it matter what methods you prefer? I'll go over them here and you'll see why. If you love active flipping, then multiple accounts will definitely be your thing. While you completed a flip on one account and you're limited on it, you can do it on the next one. You can cycle all your flips across your accounts and thus earn a lot more profit in the same time as you are pretty much extending your limits. It is definitely more work, but the results are worth it. Snow made a video about this before on our channel. It's quite a long time ago, but the basics still apply and stuff, and it's worth a watch if you're interested in this. I added the link to this video in the description. Also, a tip for you is to stay online on the RuneScape companion app so you can see the Grand Exchange offers at all times and you won't have to log in to check as often. Before getting into multi-account merchanting, you should be experienced enough with flipping in the first place. Don't try to manage multiple accounts until you know very well how to handle just one. Next up, inactive flipping. The problem with inactive flipping is the fact that you have 6 slots for 6 items at 6 prices. If you buy too low or sell too high during your inactive time, then the offer is wasted and results in nothing. So if you use multiple accounts to inactively flip, you can span across more items and thus increase your chances of succeeding at them. This is especially good when you are still learning inactive flipping. You need to practice on as many items at once as possible, and using multiple accounts allows you to do this, and it will also help you to learn how to inactively flip faster. Once you get better at predicting what works, you can focus on less items that you know will actually succeed to make your profit increase even more. Short-term investing is definitely something you must have multiple accounts for. There is so much benefit to this. There will be times when an item is unusually low, yet all you can buy is one limit. Having multiple accounts will allow you to get a lot more stock while also helping to push up the price after you have bought due to decreasing the supply. For update investing, it can be very useful to have multiple accounts. You can either use less time to stock for an update, or you can invest more of your cash than you could with one account before the update is there. The only problem with a lot of accounts in update investing is that the time frame to sell is usually pretty short. It is often quite hectic to get on all of them and watch them properly to ensure you sell off all of your stock. Trust me, I've had some pretty difficult times with that. Multiple accounts for long-term investing allows you to put more money into it. You can also take out the supply in the market much faster, which is pretty useful. especially for hoarding where the same thing pretty much applies. Your budget does matter for long-term investing though. If you won't be around much for 2 weeks and your budget for your investment will run out after, let's say, 4 days, then there is little point in using more than one account for this item unless you're worried that it will rise very soon. So if your main focus is street trading, then there is not much use in having multiple accounts. A long time ago, it was still nice to have an account at the World 54 Duel Arena and at the World 2 Grand Exchange, but that is no longer the case. The only use here is having other accounts that nobody knows belongs to you, to influence the decisions of other merchants or to keep them unaware of you buying up certain items. But this is really a thing for pretty rich merchants, so it won't apply to most people watching the video. Now onto how much money you have for your merchanting. A common question is at how much wealth you should start using multiple accounts. Now there is no specific time for this as it depends on how good you are. Some people make more profit with 100 mil on one account than with 100 mil spread over 3 accounts. This is something you will have to figure out for yourself based on your experience. If you feel like you won't be able to make much more with more accounts, then don't do it at this point. It also depends on what items you are best at. If these are really cheap ones, then more accounts will help you. If they are more expensive, then it's more beneficial to stick with one account until you have enough wealth to merchant those items on multiple accounts. You might be great at flipping, let's say, Ascension crossbows, for example, but if you had to split up your money, you wouldn't be able to properly do this on all accounts. If you would then be flipping Nex and SS items, which you might be bad at, or the market might be bad at the moment, then you'd end up making less profit than sticking with one account. You really have to figure this out for yourself at the moment. Now the next question I often get is, how should I get my money on the other accounts? I do have to add that it's easy for me to speak since I never had to transfer wealth between my own accounts. Most of my accounts were started like a decade ago. That makes me feel old. And they built up enough wealth over the years. Regardless, there are a bunch of methods to transfer money if that is what you want to do. So multi-logging and drop trading have been frequently used in the past. There's still probably some people using it now. I personally dislike both as you are taking needless risks. Being on multiple accounts at the same time is perfectly allowed as long as they do not interact. But the problem here is that you would be interacting and thus you are taking an avoidable risk on both your accounts. Drop trading obviously has these issues like other players interfering. You all know the funny stories of people randomly finding Santas and stuff and cash stacks. Or of course the connection issues, that would be a nightmare. These are of course minimal things that they rarely happen, but they do present risks that you could avoid. The best method in my eyes is to transfer through a trusted friend, preferably one you know in real life, because on RS you never really know. You might think that you put their account at risk this way, but you don't get flagged by Jagex systems over trades between friends who actively play the game. There is no problem with this whatsoever. People do this daily at large scale, so it's perfectly safe for as far as your trust with the other person goes. I've personally transferred money for RS friends countless times, ranging from really small amounts to up to over 10 bill at a time, without ever having any problems whatsoever. So really don't worry about this too much. And that leaves us with the last question: what is the limit of accounts you should use? Now this is different for each type of merchanting and of course for each person. I've seen people use over 20 accounts effectively, while others are struggling with just 3. There's no universal answer to this. It kind of depends on your strategies and preferences, so you have to find this out for yourself. If you feel that you can no longer keep up, then take some accounts down. And if you feel that you can easily do more while also making more profit, then add some accounts. After trying for a while, you can have another look and reevaluate if it's working for you. I hope this video answered your questions about multi-account merchanting. If you have any more of them, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Take care guys, and good luck with your merchanting.